All right, I want to make this one nice and short and sweet here, but on thehockeywriters.com, a new article written by Jim Parsons stating that the Oilers and Canadiens make sense as potential trade partners. Now, again, I'm going to give you a little bit, and we'll see if you can maybe rack your brain and think, who's a guy that the Oilers might be looking at that they would need to bolster their lineup? Are you looking at the forwards? You're looking at the D? You're probably not looking in goal, where Jack Campbell signed that big contract and is struggling. Luckily, they've got Stuart Skinner there. But the name mentioned that makes sense in this article, it's Joel Edmondson. Now, the reason that is because of the emergence of left-handed shot defensemen like Kaiden Guhle and Arbor Xhekaj. And to me, absolutely, while that doesn't make Joel Edmondson expendable, because we know that he brings a ton to the Montreal Canadiens room, not just on the ice with his big physical presence, and he lugs big stay-at-home minutes back there, but also in the dressing room. He's got an A on his sweater. He's a leader. He was in talks for the captaincy as kind of like a stopgap before Suzuki. But to me, his value is undeniable to the Montreal Canadiens. Like, let's not undercut it just because he's been injured. Like, when Edmonton was on his game, he was one of, if not the most steady, solid defenseman on the Habs blue line. A big part of the Cup run a couple of years ago there in 2021. But Kaiden Guhle, Jordan Harris, Arbor Xhekaj, I mean, look, to me, that makes it so you might be able to get away with a Joel Edmondson trade, get a good amount of value for him, play your kids, and again, this is not going to happen right away, but you could get him to play some more games with the Habs. One of those kids, unfortunately, is going to have to spend some more time with the Laval Rocket, but you know for a fact that then, if you do end up trading Edmonton by the trade deadline this season, you could bring up one of these kids and you know it can work somewhat decently well. So that's a good thing to know for the Montreal Canadiens. And on the Edmonton side of things, this is the type of player that they've been looking for a long time. Steady guy on the back end. They don't need another Evan Bouchard, another Tyson Barrie power play quarterback who's mobile, who's an offensive defenseman. They need somebody who can lock it down, shut it down, smart defensively, steady, stable, is not going to throw pizzas up the middle all the time. That's what they need, and that's what the article mentions, is that Edmondson fits Edmonton's needs. Man, is that a tongue twister. And he's a player with 2 seasons left on his contract. He's only at $3.5 million, which for the Oilers who are cap-strapped, yes, that seems like a pretty penny, but keep in mind that the Montreal Canadiens, they can retain some, they can keep some salary back, which would help the Edmonton Oilers as far as the salary situation, and maybe even up the value in terms of the return for the Montreal Canadiens. And a 29-year-old guy, like, you look at Joel Edmondson, like, he looks like he's 35. He's not, dude. He's only 29. He's 6'5", with a bunch of shutdown ability. He's mean as well, which for Edmonton, the Battle of Alberta types of games, the games against the Avalanche, you're going to need a big, mean defenseman. It can't just be the Darnell Nurse show as far as being mean on the back end. And we already saw the Oilers and the Habs hook up on the Brett Kulak trade last year, which, by the way, very good trade for both parties involved. That's a win-win in my books. But Joel Edmondson, absolutely Edmonton could go back to this well. And I saw this article in the Hockey Writers, and it makes a ton of sense. And to me, if you are the Edmonton Oilers and you're looking at Joel Edmondson, of course it depends. How does he recover from this injury he's currently having? How does he play coming back from the injury? Because he's maybe not going to be up to the level he was before. That's going to dictate what kind of value they get for him. Because if it's the Edmonton of old, we're talking about somebody who could fetch a higher round pick, maybe even a prospect. But if he comes back and he struggles, it's a different story. However, if I'm the Montreal Canadiens, this is absolutely a guy that I think is now expendable. And it's a different story in the room. If he's, in the room, it's somebody you absolutely cannot live with getting rid of, it's a different story. But I think when you've got veterans like Monahan, like Gallagher, like Josh Anderson, I think that's enough veteran presence to show the kids the ropes. You can afford to let a guy like Edmondson go, and you can let David Savard, for example, on the back end, mentor the kids like Guhle, like Harris, like Xhekaj. But man, is it nice to know that even if Edmondson were to go, you wouldn't have to put out a flyer for Montreal beer leaguers to come fill out the Habs defense. Like, you'd have enough decent NHL players, and they're proving right now that they can do a semi-decent job with it. Kaiden Guhle's already emerged as the best defenseman on the Montreal Canadiens. Yes, I went there. So to me, I think that Edmonton, he's going to be the odd man out this season, and I think that a team like Edmonton is going to be salivating, frothing at the mouth, wanting to get a piece of Joel Edmondson. He's actually 6'4", not 6'5". My bad for saying that earlier. But man, this just makes such perfect sense for the Edmonton Oilers. I would be so hyped as an Oilers fan if we went and picked up Joel Edmondson. It's exactly the type of player that we've been looking for, that we've been needing. Like, again, there's no need for another Tyson Barrie, another Evan Bouchard. You need a guy like Joel Edmondson on that back end if you're the Edmonton Oilers, and that would really, really help you as a contender. And if you're the Habs, more picks, more prospects, just keep the train moving, man. You're in a rebuild. Clearly it's going well with your young core pieces here. If you keep adding to that, you got pieces like Philip Machar, like Owen Beck coming down the pipe here, who look amazing in the OHL right now. Things are looking sunny and beautiful for the Montreal Canadiens here. Man, does this look good. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. I think it makes total sense here. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.